At Galliford Try and Morrison Construction, we are committed to playing our part in the decarbonising of the economy for a greener and more sustainable future. We have set ourselves targets to reach net zero carbon in our own activities, what are defined as Scope 1, Scope 2 and our business travel Scope 3 emissions by 2030. And by 2045, we are committed to be net zero across all our activities, including all Scope 3 emissions. Working with and upskilling our supply chain is vital to achieving these goals, so we have created our Net Zero Partners initiative. Here is Alan Smith, Low Carbon Manager for Morrison Construction, to tell us more about the journey we have set out on.
We at Galliford Try Morrison Construction are leading the way in carbon reduction, but collectively, as an industry, we need to reduce our carbon emissions. Part of that is down to national and client-led drivers, but ultimately it's the right thing to do. So behind me here is Blackridge Early Years Centre. This was our first passive house primary school, and when we started on it 3 years ago, we quickly realised this was the way the industry was shifting and we had to respond to that. Working with our supply chain and industry partners, we're here to offer help and support to remove any barriers that they may have on their journey to net zero.
The collective journey towards net zero requires a true collaborative approach by sharing knowledge, skills and resources. Our three key pillars of the Net Zero Partners are carbon literacy, which is the understanding of what carbon emissions are, where they come from and how we can measure them. Upskilling and continual improvement, how to identify training resources, apply them effectively and maintain ongoing collaboration. And quality, utilising digital tools and aligning processes to meet the challenge.
Brian McConnell, and the company I work for is Fleming Buildings. We were responsible for the external timber frame and for the roof, from an engineering sense, and for the design and installation of all the insulation and the air tightness membranes, and ultimately for the testing that was done at the end to make sure that the building met the Passive House standard for air tightness. And I'm very glad to say that not only did it meet it, it exceeded it, so it was a success for everyone. Net zero to Fleming, what that means is getting far more involved in passive house projects. Passive house is going to be a principal driver of our business over the coming years. I think what's happening in the world at the moment really emphasises the need for energy efficient buildings. We have a great awareness at Fleming Buildings of embodied carbon, and one of the advantages of our particular business is that being timber engineers, we're using wood and wood-based products both capture and store carbon. So that's one fantastic advantage of timber engineered structures. The other thing is we have a very keen eye on a logistics trail. We're working in central Scotland principally, and by working in central Scotland we're keeping our logistics trail down to a minimum. Fleming have made a decision to take on a dedicated person just to look after our drive towards net zero. And part of his responsibility is to make sure that we have all of the correct training in place. And we're using Construction Scotland Innovation Centre training from everybody from our design team all the way up to director level, and this will continue because it's important that we keep it up to date. The great thing about working with Morrison Construction is it's not working, it's a partnership. And it's been a partnership for a long time, which means that everyone from our designers through to our guys actually hammering the nails in on site are used to working with Morrisons. We have confidence in each other. And we hope to continue partnering with Morrisons because it just gives us a confidence to move forward.
Following the completion of Blackridge, which was a timber framed solution, we recognised that the next step was to scale up Passive House, and to do that we were looking at steel. So we approached the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre to build on our partnership to construct the steel rig behind us here. The detailing of the rig has been developed in conjunction with our supply chain and working in collaboration with the Passive House Trust. The purpose of the rig is to look at different build-ups from a steel perspective, see what works and see what doesn't in a controlled factory environment such as this. So not only is the rig going to add a lot of value to our projects, crucially it's here as a resource for the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre and their training programmes.
Hi there, my name's Katrina Jordan. I'm Head of Retrofit Programmes here at Construction Scotland Innovation Centre. Construction Scotland Innovation Centre are here to support the industry develop innovative ideas through prototyping and testing. We've formed a partnership with Morrison Construction through the Low Carbon Learning Programme, which is a programme to upskill and reskill in passive house and retrofit standards. Morrison Construction have been instrumental in developing a steel rig and a passive house solution for steel, working collaboratively with industry partners and their whole supply chain. This has really allowed us to promote our programme. Main contractors have the opportunity to lead the way for the wider supply chain. This can be done through upskilling and reskilling themselves, which can then be transferred to the supply chain. One example of this is a main contractor bringing on their whole construction team to carry out the low carbon learning skills and passive house practice, which can be done in an environment where they can make mistakes and ask questions and learn from each other. An example of this could be where a main contractor brings the whole workforce together to carry out practical training, for example in passive house standards, which can be delivered here at the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre. This allows for the whole team to be able to ask questions, make mistakes in a safe environment and share knowledge and understanding within the whole low carbon skills process. We've had a fantastic level of uptake from the low carbon learning programme, which is now into its phase 2. We've had almost 2,000 participants undertake some form of learning, be it in retrofit, passive house standards or low carbon construction, from a range of online learning through to practical training sessions. This programme can reach anyone over the age of 25 and residing and working in Scotland.
My name is Ryan Carrollton. I'm the Business Development Manager for All-Star Joinery. National targets around net zero are important to the entire construction industry, but also to us as a subcontractor, to a main contractor in Morrison Construction. It's very important that we support effectively our clients, but also that we have a holistic approach ourselves in order that our company can actually move forward. The training is facilitated by Morrison Construction, but also by the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre. We can send our operatives here, they can be trained and ensure that they are meeting the new standards that are in place so that we future-proof their skills. We will initially train our more senior and experienced operatives to come here to the centre to be trained on the training rigs, and we feel that they can then go back. New, less experienced or apprentice employees can then be trained by our more experienced and now upskilled employees that we have already. Working with Tier 1 contractors like Morrison Construction has allowed us to become much more aware of our entire carbon footprint and how we're going to get towards net zero. This year, in 2022, we are actually moving factory to probably double our capacity and increase our workforce. We're utilising this factory move to reduce our operational carbon, which is part of our contribution towards industry targets towards net zero. We absolutely love the facilities here at the training centre. The training rigs look fantastic. The larger prototypes that look like an actual room that our operatives would be in, we think are very effective. What we would expect from Tier 1 contractors like Morrison Construction is, first and foremost, continue to give us work. That's happening and we're very pleased, but also that they show us the way. They let us know that what's expected from us and tenders that come to us, and we make sure that we are continuing to achieve the targets that not only that they're setting, but the industry's setting.
Climate change and climate reduction are a long-term issue that will be addressed over decades to come. It's important that everyone in our business plays their part, but it will be the next generation that take the baton forward, and our class of graduates and trainees have net zero at the forefront of their thinking.
As a leading construction company in the UK, Galliford and Morrison Construction have an obligation to reduce their carbon emissions. It's no secret that the impact that the construction industry has had on rising global emissions in the previous few decades, and because of that they need to do everything they can in order to reduce their emissions and put future plans in place that will continue their growth, however in a sustainable and environmentally conscious manner.
So I believe Morrison Construction and Galliford have a major role to play in lowering carbon emissions. Looking at kind of construction industry and what their part in carbon emissions percentage-wise, they're a major player, and we need to act now as an industry to lower that.
So climate change is probably going to be my generation and my future generation's biggest challenge. There's no escaping that, from everything from nature to us. We need to respond to that because our future generations are the ones that's going to suffer. We are suffering right now on a kind of micro scale, but it will become a macro scale for our future generations, so it's very significant that we respond to that now.
So digital tools are now used on a daily basis on all of our kind of construction sites, and we're seeing the first-hand benefits of that. We're more efficient, more effective due to kind of collaboration from design teams prior to breaking ground on site.
The digital tools we use now help us model pump skids, for example, and heating pipework. This can help us model the potential use of this compared to carbon emissive systems. And with this modelling, it can help us achieve net zero.
We're not going to achieve net zero in the construction industry with just a singular effort. We're going to have to be open and collaborative with each other, including all parties, to achieve our goal of achieving net zero.
Morrison Construction do have a responsibility in being a leader in moving net zero. It's not just as a company level, but at each employee level, we have a responsibility to achieve this net zero. The one big change that I would make within the construction industry would be to educate people to the low carbon systems that are available on the market compared to the tried and tested conventional gas boilers that are available today. By making this change to low carbon technologies, it will help the construction industry achieve net zero.
I believe our supply chain will support the Net Zero Partners initiative. They themselves have their own goals of carbon reduction, and that's something we can support them with while they help reduce our carbon.
Individually, we won't achieve the goal to net zero carbon. So that's why we believe the Net Zero Partners initiative is so important, so we can work collectively together to achieve that common goal. And we'd like you to join us on that journey.